Welcome to another episode of the Play to the Whistle podcast. Myself, Jesse, joined with T. Dot, Kieran, just about gone time. How you doing, guys?
Yeah, man, I'm good, man. What you saying?
What you say, Kieran? You good?
Cheek of this guy, cheek of this guy. It's all right,
Oh,
though. It's all right. It's all right. I know things are a bit tricky for you with the result yesterday, so I'm gonna let it slide.
yeah, man. Yeah, well, obviously, let's start
Start.
there.
Let's start from there.
To be fair, it's kind of good that we recorded today, to be honest, because if we recorded yesterday, it would have been a mess. Because I think that's one of the worst games I've seen, like from United since he's been in charge, and that's not even an exaggeration. I think everyone played shit. To be quite honest with you, pretty much more or less. Mason's goal was fantastic, great strike, but apart from that, it was a shambles. Um, Trying to play up from the back, moving the ball slow, the usual stuff. I think the goal that Tielemans scores, we've conceded that goal to Leicester about 3 or 4 times now. The exact same goal, playing out from De Gea. Someone gets caught on the ball, they win it literally on our 18 and they score. It's the same thing. It's like no one's learning from their mistakes. They're not. Are they even rewatching tapes? Because if they have, they would have seen that we've done that the exact same goal 3 or 4 times. I think Maguire, as much as I defend him, which I think he's usually consistent, he was terrible yesterday. I think there's an argument all 4 goals was his fault. He's awful. Luke Shaw was terrible yesterday as well. Just start to finish, it was just a mess. And it's one of them. I looked at this fixture and I was expecting a draw. I was expecting to get beat like that, but I think the writing's on the wall for him. And I don't even think that's like jumping to any conclusions or anything like that. Like, we're playing the exact same type of way, making the same mistakes for the last 2 years now. Like, nothing's changing and nothing's going to change with him in charge. So I know they've come out and said, yeah, we're 100% behind you. They have to say that. That's no wins in 3 now. We conceded 10 already this season. It's just looking awful. And I don't think that's an exaggeration at all.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. No, I agree with that 100%. I think that's the worst that I've seen United play in a long time. I know the form's always up and down with United, but I think in terms of just there was no like pressure on Leicester at all. Like Leicester done everything that United should have done in that game. Leicester played like a City on Saturday. They just literally pressed every time United had the ball. There was a Leicester player on top of them. And I agree with what you said, Jesse. I think Maguire I don't know what it was, but he just looked switched off the whole game completely. Obviously for the goals, yeah, he's definitely at fault for them. But I think apart from Greenwood, I think the whole team literally were poor. I think Rashford coming on, obviously got a goal, but I just think it's not enough, man. I think Ollie's time is done now. I think you're looking at the games now that are coming after this, after the Leicester game. Realistically, how many points are you going to get out of them as well? And then obviously you got the Champions League game in between that as well. It's tough, man. And this is probably the perfect time to either get rid of him. But the question I was going to ask Kieran, do you think he'll resign, or do you think it'll be a case that the club will have to sack him?
I want to answer your question, and then he's not going to resign. No, as in because I want to touch on the performances from both sides, but he's not going to resign and he won't get sacked. So whoever wanted Ollie in and all of that stuff, good. You're going to be stuck with him. Enjoy it. Back the manager. Do what you got to do. It's not going to happen. We know what this is.
Sorry, before you carry on, what makes you say that?
Ollie won't resign because he's not fit for purpose in that job, and he hasn't been since about when was that international break after the first the first few months he took over? I think it was like March or April. He's not been fit for purpose since United lost to Arsenal, I think it was, and he should have resigned at the end of that season. So he's not going, and his press conferences tell you he's not going I can't remember what he said. I saw the quote on Twitter. I didn't watch the press conference, but he said something like he's not sure what the issue is. Maybe we need more legs. It's a Man United manager. He's not going. The board won't sack it. I'm laughing because what else can you do? It's like on FM when you let the assistant do the presses for you, and sometimes they're just talking the weirdest smack. So, but listen, the board don't sack him until there's no one really realistically available that will want to take that job or they can get in. I know Conte's been mentioned, but that with that board and that manager, nightmare. So, but yeah, listen. Going to the performance, Harry Maguire played badly because he's not a good defender. That is the reason. He might be unfit. He might be out of form.
That's not true.
No, he's not. He's not.
I think he's an average
defender.
He's an average defender for me. And them goals happen all the time with him. And that's why whenever he comes up against good players or smart players,
not always though, Gus. Not always. Like, you've got to give him a bit. Since he's joined United, he has improved.
There's a clear difference when he's on the pitch and when he's not. I know he was terrible yesterday, but
do you know why
he's
that
not
is?
average. Average is like that's strong.
Do you know why? Do you know why that is? Because Bailly has been dreadful for the last 2 years. Phil Jones, for whatever's going on, has been dreadful. And Lindelof is one of the worst centre backs in the Prem. Like,
he is. That's true.
Yeah, so of course he looks great. I'm not saying he's a bad defender. I just think he's average. If you cross balls in the box, set pieces, he'll clear them. But he is very average. If you put him in a bottom 10 side, they will go one or two places higher because he is average. He's an average Premier League player. He can't play out from the back. Not really. He does the thing where he dribbles forward and then he comes back and passes it to Luke Shaw for England and United. He's not, when people say he's good at passing and whatever, Lindelof has shown more intent going forward, and with through ball, he got the assist yesterday. Lindelof is much better on the ball than he is. I think people see the way Van Dijk plays out the back when they talk about Maguire. That's not what Maguire does. So I don't actually know as a defender what he does apart from head the ball away when crosses are going in the box and just shout at the referee.
No, he's decent playing out the back. He's not fantastic at it. But
average.
You see that there's he's not average. He's not average. Average. There's loads of average defenders in the Prem. There's average defenders that play for England when he's not playing. There's a big difference to when he's on the pitch and when he's not on the pitch. I'm not saying he's world class, but he's not average. But apart from no, that's just what I think. It's just what I've seen for club and country. Like when he's not on the pitch, there is a difference. But no, I think the other thing with Ollie is that like he genuinely doesn't have a clue, and even to what you just said, what he said, like he can't put his finger on it, or he said we're in great form apart from that result. Like he's not.
It's the third game without a win.
He's in a different universe. Like if he thinks this is great form, what he's seen so far, even in the wins, then we've got to be watching different like football. Like we must be, because we've not been great in any game this season. The only game that we played well in was Leeds, and we still conceded 2 goals. And
that was going to be my other point. Man United haven't played apart from Leeds, and that performance yesterday was not, for me, that was an anomaly. They played that badly before. They've just not.
That's the standard.
It's just because Jamie Vardy and Leicester, they look like they come to form. They played well. I'll come to that in a moment. But what typifies that performance for United, the last thing I'll say, the 2 goals that United scored, which I know I'm going to pay homage to Jesse because you've said this the whole time. That first strike from Greenwood could be one of the goals of the month. Great strike. And the second one was a through ball from Lindelof. There was no build-up play. He just played it through the defence. It was bad defending. And Rashford, with his speed, and it was a really good finish. And that's been Ollie's whole Man United career. They're good finishes. Exactly. So
that's it.
This is not an anomaly with Maguire. I'll move off Maguire. I just don't think he's that good. He's not bad. He's just average. And Man United, just through sheer talent, there's too much talent in that team for them to not finish 4th or 5th, and Ollie will only get sacked if the 4th is in danger. And I've said before, Ollie is a manager that will get teams relegated. Luckily, he's had the signings, but had he not had the signings, Man United would be where Arsenal are at the moment, with no disrespect to Arsenal, but that's where United would be, a couple points above the relegation zone. It's just the Ronaldos, Varans. You can't even use Sancho, probably, for crying out loud. Like, it's a mess.
There's too many factors that you see with this squad, yeah, that tell you that he's the problem. All these guys, Fred, Pogba, even Matic, trying to think of someone else. They all go on international duty, and they're $1 million, yeah. For all their different countries, regardless of the level, they all play well for their countries. They come back and they're all shit. And then people in the press, the journalists, the pundits, they want to lay into the players like it's their fault, yeah. How can you play that good for your country and come back and play this shit for us? And what is the factor? That people are scared to say that it's the manager's fault. It's his fault. He picks a team. God knows what they're doing in training like 3 or 4 times a week.
Smiling and vibes, innit?
Yeah.
Videos for Twitter and Instagram. That's it.
Yeah. So, but look, the writing has to be on the wall, man. Like, nothing is going to happen under this manager. Like, nothing at all. And even you know, he doesn't even instill any confidence. He just talks absolute nonsense in all his press conferences.
I said that from the start, man. He sounds like he's won a competition to manage United for a week.
Yeah,
it's like a surprise. It's like a surprise to him knowing it, like that he's the manager. Sometimes the way he talks.
Like his comments when he's talking about like, I think Rashford may need to concentrate on his football. He got 36 goal involvements last season. He's the reason you're still in the fucking job. You wouldn't be in the job without him. So if he wasn't concentrating on football, you wouldn't even be here right now. So
can we pay homage to Leicester?
I'm just about to do that. I'm just about to do that because I think even when the game's 2-2, what I'll say about Ollie before I move on to Leicester is when the game's 2-2, you got to see that game out, man. Just get a point and just go back to Manchester. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But in terms of Leicester, I thought, like I said before, they pressed from the start. They never stopped at all. I thought Tielemans was like he's too, in a way, he's too good for Leicester, and that's not, again, no disrespect to Leicester. He's just too good to be at that level in terms of Leicester. He should be at a top club like a Liverpool. I think that'd be a brilliant signing for them. But yeah, you look at those 2 goals. I think Vardy 83 minutes and then Daka. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing to see them 2 goals go in the way that they went in. And Rashford 82 minutes. So when it's 82 minutes, there's 8 minutes plus stoppage time left. You just got to see the game out and get a point. And then it doesn't look as, it's the poor performance, I think, would still be highlighted from Ollie's perspective and how poor United played. But if you get a point out of it, it kind of takes a bit of the sting out of it a little bit. And it just collapsed in the last 10 minutes for United. But in terms of Leicester, brilliant from start to end. I thought, Vardy, obviously, we know he's capable of. I thought Johnny Evans had a brilliant game as well. It was a proper Leicester performance that we'd seen last season as well. But just going back to Leicester, Jesse, what was your thoughts on Leicester?
Excellent. But it's what I was kind of saying like last week. I just feel like once they get all their players come back to fitness, they'll start to obviously go up the table. They're good manager, very good style of play. They switch between formations. Obviously, they switch to a back 3. Comfortable. Like I said a few weeks ago, they switch to the back 3 and they're playing well. But it's the same old guys for them though, isn't it? Like Johnny Evans had a good game. Sionchu played better than he has the last few weeks. Tielemans was excellent. Ricardo Pereira down the right.
I feel, to be fair, it was a good team, but I think all of them players. Yeah,
as usual for that team. And you have to credit. What I liked with Vardy's goal was the movement. He's got very good movement, but how he feints, makes a second run, peels off Maguire, and scores. It was a good move, good finish. Tillman's goal was excellent as well. But look. I think the goal for Daka obviously is just a tap in, but it's good instinct. It's good for him to get a Premier League goal under his belt now. I think that's his first, isn't it?
I think you're right.
Yeah, it was his first one.
So it's good for him to get that under his belt now. So maybe he can obviously hit the ground running, and they've got a good little situation there at top now. 3 strikers all in form, all scoring goals. Midfielders come back into form. Evans is back now. They're looking good again.
Yeah, I'd have to agree
definitely.
with
Yeah. Should move on to a team in red up north that is actually doing well and playing good football and has a good manager. Liverpool. Good win yesterday, to be fair. Obviously, they won 5-0 against Watford. I think Watford were that bad and Liverpool were that good. Then work that one out. But yeah, I felt like they obviously, they played really well. Danny Rose has had a mare yesterday, to be fair, but Salah's pass for that first goal, they should have like assist of the season. Yeah, because that was ridiculous.
Outrageous tech.
And I think one of you was saying that a couple of weeks ago, Mane, he's kind of hit the ground running this season. He's hit form, and I think Liverpool need that. And Firmino got a hat trick. And what was nice about Firmino's goals were they were poachers' goals, which I don't think we're used to seeing from Firmino as much. And I think if he can try and continue that this season, 5-6 games and get those kind of goals, especially in tight games. Again, we're going to be talking about Liverpool come sort of, April, May time for obviously the big trophies. So I thought they played extremely well. Watford's new manager, I think they're going down. They look all over the place. They look dreadful. I don't see them doing much in the window come January. And because I think they started getting 5 at the back, like a proper 5-4-1. I don't know what they were expecting. But I wanted to ask. I'll start with T-Dot. What do you think about the the Liverpool performance? And yeah, I know you had a few doubts about their midfield. They obviously had the injury to Harvey Elliott, but yeah, how are you feeling about Liverpool's performance and how they're doing at the moment and the start to the season?
Yeah, obviously Liverpool are Liverpool, so I think obviously they play well. They've got to keep their players fit. But like I've said before, I think they're for me. I look at obviously their performance against Watford and how well Salah and Mane played, two key players who they'll lose. Obviously, I've mentioned before for a considerable period of time after the Christmas period for the African Cup of Nations. But I still think they'll probably have to go in and maybe bring in a couple of 1 or 2 players, maybe a midfielder, and obviously maybe a striker. I don't know what their situation will be come Christmas. But in terms of the way they played yesterday, first class, world class. Salah's probably the best player in the world right now, without being biased or nothing like that against any other players. But I think he's world class. I think he's the best player in the world. Just his movement, his pace, like you said, Daniel Rose didn't know his ass from his elbow because he was just run ragged. And Mane as well. It's good to see Mane hitting a bit of form. He had a bit of a dip in season last year, so he's done really well. I think Robertson, Trent, keep them 2 fit as well. Two brilliant players there. So yeah, then they've got a lot, and we've got to remember as well. They didn't the goalkeeper didn't even. I can't forget his name now, but he didn't even have. He didn't have nothing to do the whole game. I think Liverpool had 83 or 86% possession. Unheard of in a Premier League game. Like that doesn't really happen in most Premier League games. So yeah, Liverpool, as long as they can keep the core of that team fit, and obviously they can sort of sustain that momentum if and when Salah and Mane return after the African Cup of Nations as well. Obviously they're league contenders, title contenders as well. Yeah, it's going to be interesting for me because obviously from a Chelsea perspective, obviously I want to see them slip up, but they don't look like they're going to do that anytime soon anyway. What's your thoughts, Jesse? What do you think?
They're ferocious. Like it's kind of scary. I'm not gonna lie. I think they're complete opposite of what we said about United. I think they're the complete opposite. Like they've got everyone's on fire. I think the scariest part for me with them is when they make changes, like they play exactly the same way. And I think that's the scariest part of it. Like, I think one of the goals, Nico Williams got an assist, didn't he?
Yeah.
You know,
this is That it's just kind of mad. Like Jota's already scored a few goals. I agree with what Kieran said about the hat trick as well. They're all in the 6-yard box. They're all very good runs from Firmino as well, and I think that will do wonders for his confidence as well. And that's something that's important for Liverpool, because with him, if he can continue scoring goals, same with Jota, and then they get like goals from Trent, Robbo, and the rest of the other players in midfield. To be quite honest, if teams ain't near Liverpool in January, could be done. They've got to be near them before African Cup of Nations. If they're not near them, then I don't really see anyone like, causing any threat to them if they're not near them at that point. Because even if, they're going to miss them 2 players, but if everyone else is scoring, or they're scoring goals in different ways, different patterns of plays, which we know they can and they have been doing, then they'll still be competitive in January, early February without them. But yeah, they're playing terrific stuff, man.
I wanted to add, they look, I mean, we knew this was going to happen anyway, but they look solid at the back. Like, I feel like with having like the Matip Van Dijk partnership, I think with having those 2 there, everyone seems to have confidence. Like the fullbacks know they can bomb on. The midfield look a lot more assured. Like they don't even look like they're second guessing, thinking, "Oh, I might just have to hang back," or like they just. And I think Matip probably one of the best signings in terms of value for money, because it was a free, wasn't it, under Klopp's reign? I think that signing has really gone under the radar for a lot of people. Like if you're looking at, people say sort of Salah and obviously Alisson, Van Dijk, but I think Matip actually, when he's playing them, part of that unit is so important for them as well. Really, really helps.
Yeah, definitely, man. He's been very good this season. And everyone's just looked solid for them, man. Like, even Milner's obviously had a bad game, but obviously against City. But apart from that, more or less, everyone that's come into the team has produced and done the goods and contributed to the team, man. The games that Curtis Jones has come in and played, he's played well.
Naby Keita as well.
Keita. What's your other guy? Oh, I just had he's just on the tip of my tongue. But yeah, everyone that's come in for them, they've played well and they're all contributing.
Quick question for T-Dot. Salah's goal yesterday, is that better than the one against Man City?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. The fact that he takes on, I think, 3 Watford players, I think he sends Cathcart to the shop and back. And he still manages to get the shot off as well.
Go back for me.
Yeah, like that's what makes him world class, though.
Yeah, man, the little soul roll beating the man, chopped from a corner. That's crazy stuff.
But you got to think, all 3 of them defenders were scared to touch him, because if they touch him, he goes down. It's a penalty. But it's the quickness as well. I don't think they even had they didn't think that it happened all too quick for them, so they weren't even on the ball anyway. But yeah, like I said before, he's the best player in the world right now for me, hands down. So yeah, while he's doing things like that, I agree with what Jesse said in terms of them running away with the league. That can easily happen. If one of like a Chelsea or a City or them kind of teams drop off, and Salah comes back after the African Cup of Nations and does that again, might as well hand them the league.
And I think they've been linked. I've been seeing it lately. Like they're getting linked to wingers now. So it's like they've been linked with Rafinha from Leeds. They've been linked with the boy from Watford, Sarr. So I reckon they probably will make a move in January anyway for at least one player. But yeah, man, they're just annoyingly looking good, like in every position. So yeah, man. And just lastly on Salah, obviously I agree with what Thea said. I think he's the best player in the world at the moment. But I think the other thing, what he's doing now is like he's working his socks off as well. Like when they lose the ball, he's giving Trent like way more protection than he used to, and he's he's more effective in the build-up play when the goals, like when he's not involved in obviously scoring, he's in the build-up for the other goals. And he's playing really well, man. This is like he's playing at his peak. And I know the last few seasons he scored like 40 odd goals or 30 goals, and he's still been scoring goals. But this season, I don't know what.
He's added a lot more to his game. Yeah, he's adding a lot more to the game now.
This feels like his peak. That makes sense.
That contract's around the corner, though, isn't it? $500,000.
Yeah,
$500,000. That's what he wants.
But at the moment, he's playing like a $500,000 a week player.
It's interesting to see what's going to happen with that situation, because obviously you've got all the vultures circling now. They're going to, they don't want to break their pay structure for one player.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see what they do, but they might have to.
I'm looking forward to seeing how that pans out, to be fair. But I think that if they want to, they've got to keep him. They know that. There's no one, like I just said, there's no one else out there that's better than him. So you're going to have to pay him the fee and
I think it happens. It happens at most clubs. So like when, there's always players that want more money, and some just not deserving of it. They're just not worth it, like, because they're not good enough. Like when Herrera's, he wanted like 350 grand a week, and he's not good at anything. And you can just go and get that somewhere else, isn't it? And like it's same as other players, mate. I don't know if Wijnaldum tried to do the same thing with Liverpool, but they didn't budge. But I think they might have to with Salah, because they're not.
You're not getting another Salah somewhere else.
They're not getting 30 plus goals off the right from anyone else. So you have to see how that one pans out.
Should we talk about the other title contenders, which I think we'll agree on? Chelsea.
Don't call them that, cuz.
No, you don't have to call them that, but I'm going to call them that because
they are.
I had them in my top three.
No, they are title challenges.
Talk to us about the game. Yeah,
it was difficult, man. It was a difficult game. I think, obviously, Brentford, we know what they can do to teams. We've seen that in the past with Liverpool, obviously getting a point with them and beating Arsenal on the opening game of the season. But it was going to be difficult for us because we knew obviously we were going to be missing Rudiger and Thiago Silva. Obviously couldn't play in that game, so there was going to be some sort of inexperience to an extent at the back. Centre backs, obviously Malang Sarr making his debut, had a brilliant game. Chalobah as well, I thought played really well. But the two key players for me in that game was obviously Mendy, who I'm going to talk about later, and Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who I thought after the Achilles injury that he's had and he's come back in, he's gave Thomas Tuchel no option but to play him now because of the way that he's hit that form and he's playing really well. I thought he was probably the best player apart from Mendy. But Brighton didn't make it easy for Chelsea at all. I think it was, excuse me, you go into that sort of 40-minute mark in the game and it's still 0-0. And luckily, obviously, Ben Chilwell, who he's like mixed opinions amongst Chelsea fans. Some people would rather see Alonso playing, some would rather see Chilwell. But for him to get that goal off the back of the England goal that he got as well, and the goal that I think he scored before the international break, it was needed because, if I'm honest, I couldn't see where we were going to get a goal from. Lukaku was starved of the service again. Werner, I'm sick of kind of saying it, but he's doing everything right. It's just not, I don't know, it's just not scoring. And I think watching him for the international break for Germany, he scored 2 amazing goals. And he comes back. It's kind of what you said, Jesse. This is what when you said about players going to their country playing really well, but coming back. I don't know if it's something Tuchel's telling him to do that he's not liking or what, but it just seems a bit weird how he can do it for Germany, but when it comes to Chelsea, he can't. But in terms of the game itself, I thought it was a brilliant game for us. It was a 3-point game that we needed to win. Did we deserve it? I think so. I'd say so, yeah, because I think, Brentford, we were in control of the game. Brentford didn't really have much, really, apart from the last 10 minutes when I don't know what happened to Malang Sarr and Chalobah, but they kind of just, maybe, again, that inexperience maybe was starting to show. We should have put Reece James on 10 minutes before we brought Reece James on because it was just something we needed to change. But Mendy kept us in the game, man. He's got to be spoken about as a world-class goalkeeper. I know I keep saying world-class tonight, but he's got to be spoken about as one of the world-class goalkeepers now, because for me, he's pulling off saves that you think he's going to hit the back of the net, and the way he keeps doing it, consistently now, where he's saving us, the heartache of not getting 3 points, and I don't think he gets enough credit, I think, as well, in my opinion. I think a lot of people, certain Chelsea fans as well, don't really see him as like a world-class goalkeeper, but he's got to be up there now. He has to be. I don't know what, I'm going to throw it to Kieran. I don't know what you think, whether you think he's in that world-class bracket, maybe with a Donnarumma or someone like that.
Do you know what's weird with Mendy? Because he was excellent yesterday, and I thought Brentford were unlucky not to steal something from the game. I know what you mean, like Chelsea had probably done enough, but had it finished 1-1, you said, you know what, fair enough, but I think, what the thing is with Mendy, I think people see him as one of the best in the world, but they don't see him as world class, if that makes sense. There's probably a couple of keepers that they maybe rate a bit higher, but I think he's a sensational keeper. He's good with his feet. I think we talked about this before. Good with his feet, good shot stopper. He's good in the air. There's not many things about his game that you look at and you think, yeah, he can't do that. And I think, what is it now? Has he got 20 Premier League clean sheets, or was that just last season alone? Or is that? I think that's all together. Like the amount of clean sheets he's got to games, that ratio, and with no disrespect to the Chelsea defense, but they do give away chances. He's not a mug, innit? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, definitely. Like got to pay homage to him, and for sure, like without him, Chelsea probably are 3 or 4 more points off the pace. In fairness, I think there's a couple of games that He-Man probably either don't win or you drop a couple of points.
But that's what the worrying thing is, though, for me. I think, sorry to cut you there, but I think the worrying thing is, and I've said it on here before, is that we aren't playing the best football this season. We're not playing amazing. We're not playing the way that City play or Liverpool, like playing against like a Watford. We're not smashing teams or nothing like that, which is, for me, is kind of worrying, because at some point the shit is going to hit the fan. And do you know what I mean? Like, you are starting to look at Lukaku now. I think, he's not really scoring enough goals for me in terms of what we know Lukaku can do, but it's early days as well.
Can I just ask though? Yeah, I mean, it's a question for both of you really, but teams will drop form at some point of the season, and I feel like more often than not, if you drop form, you're going for the league, you drop form around September, October, November time and come back. That's probably the best time for your form not to be great. And if you can grind out wins and get a couple of wins here and there, that's good. Like City kind of did it last season. They had that, obviously it was a really bad start, but around September they weren't all firing. But
they always do that though. I think City always have a slow start to a season.
But that's what I mean. Like I feel like, and this is similar. I know we're going to talk about Newcastle Spurs in a bit, but the same with Harry Kane. Will have like a not so great August, September, but he'll hit form at the right. I'm just saying, like, is for a team going for the league, is it okay that? No, even like Lukaku, I feel like isn't it good to
just dash Kane in there, What?
No. What I'm saying is, if you're bringing in Lukaku as well, isn't it better that if they're going to score 25, plus a season, that they have their dip in form now? And isn't that just quite normal? No one's winning and scoring all season round. But maybe I'll throw it at Jesse, because I know he's smiling when Lukaku's name got brought up.
No. Well, I think it's 6 games without a goal, but I think it's what I was saying, like, when we done the recording live, yeah, I just feel like they're not playing to his strengths. And for all the hype and people just talking nonsense about he's some changed man, he's gone Italy and he's changed, and he's not. He's the same player, and that's not a bad thing either. It's just, but
I think he's changed in some ways, though. I think he's changed in some aspects, though.
I think it's been hyped up, man, and glorified. I think
I'm seeing, hyped up, but I think there's some truth to it as well, though.
Slight, but not like major. The ball still bounces off him like a brick wall, like the majority of the time. But the way to get the best out of him is what I was saying before. It's like playing him like high and wide in spaces, and it's like not playing to feet, playing it in behind for him to run onto, like when he's on the shoulder, and like obviously building up the play. When he's in the box, he's dangerous. But if it's out of the box and like the team's playing high, you got to put in spaces for him. There's no point playing it into him. He's not that guy. So I think it's things like that, but I think him and Werner will click eventually. I think that's the right way to go. I don't know.
It's going to take time, innit?
Yeah, it will take time, and I don't know about the midfield makeup yesterday was good, but I think it'll just take time. Like, and I don't even agree with what you said, Theo. Like, I don't even think you've been that bad. Like, had a couple games where it's been a bit, but you're not
we've been poor. We've been not in terms of the results, but in terms of how we played the game. It's not been good football.
No, but I think there's different ways to look at it. It's like sometimes the football's not good, but you don't concede. So if you're winning a game and you don't concede, it's not like some of the United results, or like when we talk about Spurs, like they won, but they look so messy and sloppy, and they're conceding mad goals, conceding mad chances. Like, that's not really happening with Chelsea. And top of the league, like, and it's not clicked yet. That's a fantastic place to be when everything's not clicked yet. So I don't think there's nothing mad to worry about. I agree with what you said as well about Mendy. I think he's fantastic. I think that's probably the last couple of seasons. That's probably up there, maybe even top 5 signings the last few seasons for the price that it costs, the impact that he's had on the team. I think as a goalkeeper, he's not bad at anything. And when you look at some other keepers, they're great shot stoppers. They're not good with their feet, or they don't command the area, or they don't communicate. They're not loud. And like he does everything right. That's very rare as a keeper. So I don't know why people don't talk about him up there. Well,
we know,
man. We know why.
For me personally, he's easily one of the best keepers in the world, and I think he is world class, in my opinion.
I have to agree, man. I have to agree.
And yeah, like, I agree with what you said about Loftus-Cheek as well, man. I think it's good. It's one thing with Tuchel. What I think, anyway, what I've noticed is since he's been there, I think he's been prepared to give everyone a chance.
Yeah, 100%.
I think if any players, sometimes players like, oh no, game time, and they moan about game time and not being given opportunities and things like that. I think he's just used the whole squad. Like, he's used everyone that's available to him, and it's up to you whether you take your chance when you've been given it. Some players, I don't know what you think, but I don't think Ziyech is, if that's how you pronounce his name, I don't think he's been good enough since he's come to Chelsea. But
he hasn't. He hasn't.
But I think most other players that have been given opportunities, they've taken them and they've done well. And I think he's doing really well, man.
Yeah, I need to see more of that as well, because I think obviously that was a bad injury that he got, and coming back from that, obviously went out on loan. Fulham, I think the Fulham loan was a good move for him as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, he sustained his right, obviously, to play in that team against Brentford as well. But yeah, we had some key players missing as well. We have to think. I think Mason Mount came on, like I mentioned, Rudiger, Silva as well. Kai Havertz came on at some point in the game, so there were some absentees as well. And I kind of expected it to be a difficult game, regardless of who played at the back. Obviously, Reece James didn't start either, so it was, for me, 3 points is 3 points at the end of the day. And I know what you're saying, Jesse, in terms of like you don't concede and all that, but I'd like to see a bit more better football from us. Maybe just from a fan perspective. I get, obviously, 3 points is 3 points and we're not conceding, but just from a Chelsea fan perspective, I want to see some less sloppiness. I think there's a lot of sloppiness.
I know what you're saying, but I just feel like a lot of the performances have actually been good. Like, well, the ones I've seen live anyway, the games that I've watched, they're playing well. They're playing good football. They're moving it well. It's fluid. There's runners. Like, it's got everything you want in a performance for a team to play well. And sometimes, like, certain games, it just doesn't happen like that. And Brentford, to be fair, everyone's had it difficult playing them home or away. So it's not like anyone's slapped them 4 or 5-0 yet this season, and they've had like an easy stroll in the park. Like, they're going
to do damage to a lot of teams this season. I think.
Yeah, they've made loads of teams work extremely hard this season. So I think it's a good result, man. You're not going to play like, even a Man City don't play like great every game. Like they
don't win every game, but I've watched every Chelsea game this season. I can tell you from now that we have not played brilliant football this season. Even though we haven't conceded and we get the 3 points or whatever, if you speak to Chelsea fans, they'll tell you that the performances haven't been to the standard that as a Chelsea fan you'd want them to be regardless of the 3 points or the clean sheets. But it's just something hasn't been clicking, and especially in midfield as well. I've said that a lot, and a lot of Chelsea fans have said that. I think it's just one of those things that maybe it's the fact that obviously everyone's still kind of hyped up around the champion. If you speak to them, they're all talking about Champions League and this and that still. So they're still on that kind of hype on that. But you've got to forget all that now, and they got to knuckle down and start working, because at some point the shit will hit the fan. It will hit the fan. So.
And do you know what? The other thing you have to factor in, if you're thinking about the performances, you've played all the top teams. So apart from,
I don't think that even matters though. For me, like,
no, it's a big factor, because
every game's going to be difficult this season for us, for every team. I don't think.
No, but what I'm saying is, but what I'm trying to say is, in them games they're going to be more difficult, so it's going to be harder to play well. And that's been majority of games so far. It's not like you've had a run like United's, where like Leicester's the first big game that they've played. So them games are always going to be a bit bitty, a bit scrappy. It's going to be tight. It's going to be hard to play well in them games. Whereas now, you've got to run the games that the performances should definitely pick up. So
I hope so, man. I hope so. I hope you're right, man.
I can see what T-Dot's saying. It can go one of two ways, isn't it? If you get through a bad patch, win lots of games, or you win the majority of the games, and then you turn to form, great. But if you're looking at it thinking, yeah, we won, but the performance wasn't there, you're worried, aren't you, that at a point where you lose or you start drawing games, you can't build that back up. And I think, then that will be a worry. And you're not looking at this Chelsea team thinking, especially the midfield, very good players, but you're concerned one or two of them just ain't on point. For example, you've got a Loftus-Cheek who's coming back. You're not really too sure what he might do. Kante's might get injured, etc. You worry, don't you? If it can easily go the other way, so you can see it on both sides.
I think you got to look at it like Ben Chilwell scored the goal yesterday. Do you know what I mean? Like, great goal, but like just Ben Chilwell scoring goals that we're going to be looking forward to. We need to be picking up a lot of momentum in the next. They're not easy. Like, I hate that kind of term. They're easy games over the next couple of weeks, but they're games that we should be. We're not the underdog in them, so we should be beating every team. I think from now until like middle of November, I think we should be beating all them, or we should at least be beating them. But I don't know, man. Just take a game as it comes. Man.
Do you know what it is? Do you know what it is? It's because Jesse would like to be saying, "Oh, we beat Leicester yesterday, and Luke Shaw got the winner, but we didn't play well." I'm
not going to talk about us.
I'm just saying.
No, I'm not going to talk about us, but you sound like you're like in a relegation scrap or something. Like,
nah, you know what it is.
The league.
Yeah, for now, by 1 point.
No, but you're top of the league and you've played all the big games already. Like,
big games don't bother me. It's the other games, like the game like Brentford, who no disrespect to them, but they're the game. Yeah, I know. But I'm talking. Let's talk about like a Watford, for instance. I could see us losing to a Watford. Do you get what I'm saying? Like them games are, to me, are harder than them top teams.
No, I expect
we always perform against like a Liverpool or a maybe not City this season, but you know what I mean. In terms of them, Tottenham, all of them kind of teams, we always play well against them. But when we come to like a Villa or someone like that, we fuck up. And it's them kind of games that worry me when we play the way we played against Brentford, because we don't play like. Do you know what I mean? We lose to them.
But remember as well, like all these guys just come back from international duties and away games. There's a lot of factors. It's a good 3 points, bro. Like,
I'm happy, man. I'm smiling, man. I'm happy.
This is
what happens when you support a team that has higher standards. Where
I'm happy,
where you're not thinking at least Leicester didn't score 6, or at least you got
just want more in
Palace against Arsenal. Do you know what I mean?
No, you should have high standards, but I don't know the games. I've not seen every Chelsea game this season, but I watched the game yesterday. I watched quite a few of their games, and I've not seen a bad performance yet. But it's
listen, we're top of the league. I'll take that. I'll take the top of the league. And
top of the league, and you
three goals. I think it's 3 goals conceded. I'll take that.
Yeah, but the reason why I say that it's good to be where you are, having played who you've played, is that there's no easy games, but now you can experiment. Now you can like solidify this Werner Lukaku partnership. They can try and do different things. You can work on different options.
I hear you, man. I hope it comes into true existence, man. I hope we can obviously get them both playing well up front, but I gotta be on. Got to think of it from both sides of the coin. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, you got to speak how you see it. But I just think it's a good position to be in, and I think the team are playing reasonably well at the moment. So, but to Brentford, obviously, but they played excellent yesterday, man. They worked their socks off. They tried their hardest to get a goal. They really tried. You know, they created a lot of good chances, but it just wasn't their day, man. But if they continue to play like that in the way that they have so far, they should be safe this season.
Oh yeah, they'll be fine.
But
yeah, I think they'll be all right.
Speaking into the future, I don't want to obviously not trying to piss off no Brentford fans and that, but they give me, and not in terms of the style of play, but they kind of remind me of like situations we've seen before where teams come up, no one really knows about them, they hit the ground running and they're flying and they get loads of points early, so they stay up, and then the next season they have that real like second season syndrome where they just
like
they get found out. Yeah, Sheffield United, Hull, Ipswich. There's loads of those like kind of teams that we've seen over the years. Like, so that's just in the back of my mind. Obviously, we'll see what happens with them, but yeah, at the moment they've been fantastic.
Should we move on to a team that is in an interesting situation? So they're the richest club in the world, but they're in a relegation scrap at the moment. Obviously, Newcastle lost, but they lost 3-2 today to Spurs, who are quietly going about their business. It was an interesting game. I'm gonna throw this one at you, Jesse. Actually, what was your thoughts on the game and the result and Steve Bruce, all of that stuff, all of that?
Well, we're obviously congratulating him for 1,000 games now in charge as a manager. That's fantastic.
Majority away with it, or no, I'm joking.
I don't think you can't get away with it for 1,000 games in football, man. It's like what we said last week about him. He's good at what he's there to do. Like, he can take a team from the Championship, bring them to the Prem, stay there, or he can get a team in the Prem and stay in the Prem. That's been his whole career as a manager, and he's been good at doing that, and he's done that. And I feel like, you know, he's in an unfortunate position, isn't it, as well, where you look at like clubs taking over in the manner that they have, and now they're looking at like much better managers than him. And, you know, he dealt with the press the way I probably would have dealt with it if people were asking me them stupid questions and trying to chat to me like that. I would have stuck it on them as well. But yeah, look, the result on the day was expected. Like, you know, Spurs ain't been the best this season, but Spurs are better than Newcastle. And obviously, yeah, they concede the typical Spurs kind of goal like earlier on. Great finish by Wilson. But yeah, they just obviously folded. The Ndombele's goal was good. I thought was it Son's goal? That move, the intricacy of that move, the play, that was excellent. Kane's goal was good as well. It's good for him to, you know, finally scored, joining the scoring party in October. It's good for his confidence. Hopefully, he can get a few more for Spurs. But I thought Spurs. Do you know what? Yeah, they got the win, but it's just a proper Spurs performance. I don't.
Is it fair to still knock them though? They're fifth in the table. They've got 5 wins out of 8. They're quietly going about their business, despite all the negativity from their own fans and other fans. Is that a bit harsh on them?
Quietly is not a word you can use when you concede the goals that they're conceding. But yeah, if you're saying wins, then yeah, they're getting the wins. But
they're fifth. Yeah. They're fifth in the table.
Yeah, they only won. Yeah, but you know the chances that they concede, and you know, yeah, okay, they're fifth.
No, but I'm just saying. They're fifth. They've scored 9. They're above United, Arsenal, Leicester at the moment. Obviously, it's early days. But I just mean, is the criticism from all of us, by the way, is that warranted? Given, are they that bad? Like, I'm not saying they're not. I'm asking,
defensively, I'd say yes, they are. Defensively, they're bad. They're poor defensively. But
look, they are where that's what they're aiming for. That's their season, is to finish fifth. Like that's the best that they're gonna do. They're not breaking the top four. I'll say that on here. They're not breaking the top four. But if they fifth to for them, that's progression. They're in the Conference League. Fifth will get them Europa League football. It's a move in the right direction for them. So good for them, isn't it? Like, they'll go from Thursdays to Thursdays. And
yeah, I think they are poor though, and I think again this goes back to what I'm trying to say about Chelsea, but in a different, I suppose, in a bit of a different context, that they're fifth, but if you look at the way they're playing not playing good football.
No, they're and this is the difference though, where I think Chelsea are actually playing good football in majority of the games that I've seen. These lot are winging it, and like he doesn't. I'm not saying that they're winging it in terms of like performances, but he doesn't know his best team yet. And look, I'm not even slating the manager. He's not had enough time with these players. Yeah, so I'm not really going to get onto him too much. But has Ali been good this season? And Dobele was good today, and I like him as a player, but he's not really been at it this season. Eric Dyer, whatever. Dreadful again today. Romero is looking a bit.
He's risky. He's very risky today as well.
Yeah.
That 50 million is looking a bit like, in The Simpsons when the guy sells the monorail.
The things flying off.
Romero's looking a bit monorail-ish, But look, we have to see what happens with them. Obviously, the Golden Boys scored today, so if he can, get his groove back, maybe they can solidify fifth.
I'm gonna ask this at T Dot. Do you see Newcastle staying up this season?
Boy.
No, like just as a genuine question. Yeah.
No, as a genuine response, it depends, because I think the way that Steve Bruce looked at the end of the game, he obviously knows his time's done. I think they kept him in. No, and I'm not taking the piss. I think they kept him in to allow him to have that 1,000 game at Newcastle. And you looked at him. He looked like he knew they would have had that conversation already. Like I said on the last episode with him already. This is my opinion anyway, that they would have said that to him. So I think it depends who they bring in next. For me personally, they potentially have enough to stay up in terms of squad, but it depends who they bring in. And if they keep Steve Bruce, which I doubt they will, then to me, they go down with Steve Bruce in charge. But I think that was his last game. I think he knew that the new owners would have known that. It just depends who they bring in. If they bring in someone who can sustain, I think I said it last episode. If they bring in someone who's top manager, which I don't think they will, but they can bring in a top manager now, they stay up 100%. If they bring in someone that can steady the ship, they should stay up because they've got enough about them. Watching them today, although they lost, they actually played all right. They didn't play bad. They didn't play. Obviously, Shelvey, I think Shelvey.
Sure. He's on for 23 minutes.
That's is that how I was going to ask how long it was?
Yeah,
there was two stupid players like that. Players like that will be moved on anyway. But Saint Maximum, brilliant player, man. I'm surprised he's still at Newcastle, because I haven't really watched him as much as I potentially should have. But he's definitely someone that like a top kind of mid-table team should be coming in for him, because he's brilliant, man. Watched him proper today, and his movement, his strength, everything. He's just everywhere. He's defending, he's tracking back, he's at the other end. So he's one of them players that Newcastle would be stupid if they didn't keep him while they're doing that transitional period over the next 18 months or whatever.
I think with him, the only reason he's still there is just consistency. I don't think it's ability. I don't think it's anything like that. I have no questions about him as a player. Like where he can do it at a better team, at a European team, he can. I think the difference with him and maybe other players is just consistency. And I think that's what he's got to obviously add into his game. And if he has that, then he's a European player. And I think in terms of what you just said about the transition, if he gets the consistency, he'll be there at the end he'll probably still be there when.
I think he can. When
all the top players eventually come there, he's good enough to be with them. But yeah, I was reading earlier in terms of obviously they've been linked to loads of different managers. Obviously, they've been linked to Campos, the guy that was at Lille, the director of football, that obviously brought all the players into Lille to help them win the league. And he was the guy that's at Monaco as well. He's been linked with Newcastle. I mean, if he goes there, that's a fantastic signing. That's probably as good as any players that they're going to sign. And then they've said that there's 50 million to spend in January, which if you go by financial fair play, which I've seen the figures, they can actually spend 190 million in January. So if they get a top manager, if they get Campos in and get a top manager in, and they just start spending, they're definitely not going down. And I agree, man. I think unfortunately for Steve Bruce, man, his goose is cooked, and he'll be out the oven, and they're definitely going to get a new manager in there.
I think I don't think now is the time just to bring in. When I say a top manager, I don't know. They're in a relegation battle. They need a manager that knows that end of the league at the moment, whether it's a caretaker or someone who is from that relegation battle to even. It's going to sound a bit mad, but even if you just bring in Sam Allardyce to the end of the season, I know it sounds silly, but when he brings listen, when he brings in players. Because it doesn't matter short-termism, but you bring in a Conte, what you expect him to do in half a season when that team's got 3 points? And that is a championship team, by the way. When has Conte ever taken a team of that nature to greater heights in that context? This is just as an example.
No, but to be honest, I don't think Big Sam's needed. And I think they can just get a top manager because...
I think this is different because you're talking about different money here now.
This money is... through the stratosphere, like this is not normal situation for a manager to come in and be able to spend 190 million in January.
They're not going to. I'm just talking realistically. They're probably going to spend about 50. I think they need a manager that can use that squad of players to get the most out of them.
But that's the thing. Even if you're being realistic, no manager is going to come in just to do that when they know
they're going to get sacked afterwards.
Situation is. Yeah, why would they do that?
I think managers definitely would come in. Do you know how big that bonus? For me, I'm just saying you can bring in a top manager, and you're hopeful that a top manager will be able to deal with that and sort all of that out. Like like Pochettino did when he came in at Southampton. For me, he's a top manager, but he came from Espanyol. So I feel like they need someone that can come in and work with players that aren't that good. They're on 3 points after 8 games. You know?
Let me ask you this.
But remember, hold on, Theo. Just remember, we're 8 games in. I know they're on 3 points. If they sack a manager now, he's got now till January to work with these players. Then he's got January to buy players.
Then he's got till May.
Yeah, they're not getting relegated.
Let's say they do get relegated, and like you're saying, like Kieran, just to bring in someone to steady the ship, but then they get relegated. Could you see a top manager going into the championship and bringing them back up? Or like
this is my point. That's why
they may as well get the top manager in now to avoid that relegation, and then they can build. Because don't forget, they've got this whole thing that they want to do for the next 3 seasons. If they go down a season, that delays everything for a year in terms of that plan that they've got. So they obviously need to get someone in that they can. I get what you're saying. You want someone who's got an experience of getting teams out of the thing, but I don't think they're going to be there come January. I don't think the way they played today. Let me just finish that one sec. The way they play today, they won't be there come the end of the season. Come January, they won't be there if they play like that.
And I think what you're saying
like in the relegation zone, or they won't if they play like the way they play today.
They won't be in the bottom 3. They won't be in the bottom 3 if they play like that. You got to remember, some of these players now, they know that there's money on the line. Do you know what I mean? That the big money's coming in, so they're going to start playing. And whoever they bring in, they're going to play for that manager as well. That's my opinion.
I think that wasn't the issue, though. I think those players do play for Steve Bruce, like we've seen it last season.
Yeah.
I think they're not good enough. I think a lot of those players are like. I think Manquillo, for example, he's not good enough in the Prem.
But you say that, yeah. But Rafa bought Manquillo, so he's been there a while, yeah.
Yeah.
All these guys have been there for Bruce for the last 2-3 seasons. They survived, so they are good enough to be in the league.
But I think if you look at it properly, like, why did they? It depends on your perspective as to why. I think they survived because other teams fell apart, or they just happened to be worse. I think this is a strong league, or lots of strong teams in the league. So the way I see it, I think Watford will go down. I think that whole managerial change is going to kill them because they're not going to buy players. Norwich are down already, so it is one place. They could stay up, but my thing is, don't bring I use Sam Allardyce just as an example, but I'd say bring in a manager who, like, is a top coach, but doesn't need to be a top manager that's going to win you the league right now. I think right now they just need someone who's going to coach them players and get them finishing 16th, 17th, to stay in the league. So I wouldn't say just bring in a top guy personally.
He's not Steve Bruce.
Steve Bruce, for me, he's not that kind of manager, though. I think he's been extremely
He's kept
lucky.
him up, though. He's already kept him up.
Yeah, but that's like saying, like, Roberto Di Matteo is a world-class manager because he won a Champions League. Like,
it's not the same, though, because
No,
Bruce has literally kept them up the last 2 seasons.
Yeah,
so by what you're saying, they might as well keep him.
No, well, my thing is, if you're going to sack him, make sure you've got someone lined up. If you're going to sack him, not bring anyone in, that's suicide in terms of the league. My thing is just Steve Bruce. When you look at it, I feel there were lots of factors that really worked in his favor that got him quite lucky to still be in a league. I think and again, we can talk about ifs and buts, but I don't think he kept them in the league through skill. I just think it was just very good fortune, to be fair. There's a lot of teams that you end up beating last season by sheer luck. Like, you look at the results, the stats, you watch the games. It wasn't because Newcastle had a surge and they were just suddenly a better team. They were just quite fortunate. So I don't know. But personally, I don't think those players... Mankia was very good for Newcastle when Rafa signed him. He's not very good now. A lot of those players aren't good enough.
My point, I wasn't saying he's very good. My point I was making was like him and loads of some of these players, they've been there for a long time now. And they're keeping Newcastle in the league, and so is Bruce. So I just feel like I'm looking at it like, if they're going to replace him, they might as well just go and get a top manager. And when I say top, it don't have to be a Conte. There's loads of top managers that will take them to another level. But just getting another guy to come in and stabilize the ship and all that generic stuff.
Yeah, but that wasn't my point. It was just to bring in someone, not like you're going to bring like a Pellegrini so you can go to a Pep. Do you know what I mean? Like, just someone who's good but has managed at that kind of lower level. Because I think that's
but Pellegrini's the top manager.
He's
won trophies. He's a top manager.
Yeah, he's a very good manager. Do you know what I mean? But he hasn't done the things they wanted. What Pep was doing or what Klopp was doing. Like, he's not on that level. Do you know what I mean? He's just not. Like, I'm talking about these guys in the Wenger, Jose, Rafa kind of levels. Like, Pellegrini came in, did very well, won a league, won a couple cups, but that was never going to be sustainable. And we've seen like he felt. Anyway, we'll go into a different conversation. I'm just saying, for them, that squad and the situation they're in, I would just bring in a manager who is very good coach. Might not be your end game, but can keep them up, because they need, how many points they need? They need another like 12 wins to stay up effectively.
Yeah, it's too early. It's 8 games in, and there's loads of teams that's not playing that well right now. I think whoever comes in now, they don't even have to be a manager that is just going to come in to keep the team up. It's so early in the season that I don't think they need to worry about that. I think they can get away with just getting a very good manager in, implementing a new style of play, changing the fortunes, and then buying players in January, and they'll probably finish like comfortably mid-table. I don't think they need to worry about. I just don't think they're going to get relegated, man. And like what Theo said, the way they played yesterday, the way the stadium is absolutely bouncing, like even the average players are going to like squeeze out an extra 10-15% now with the way that the atmosphere is in the ground right now. So I don't really feel like they need to do the Big Sam or like go down that route. They don't need to do that, man. Like, they can just get a Pellegrini, a Poch, anyone like that. Even Eddie Howe, like, they can get someone like that. Play good football.
That's my point. I'm talking more about like an Eddie Howe, though. Like, he knows that battle.
From Allardyce to Eddie Howe, quick, man.
No. But I said an Allardyce.
I'm messing.
But like Eddie Howe, he knows what's involved in that. He knows do you know what I mean?
But my point I'm trying to make here is that I think we need to move away from like old school thinking, innit? Like, this ain't a normal situation. Like, They've got
I think you're
extreme.
fixed on the manager's name. I just meant more of
No,
the
I'm not
manager
fixed
that
on the
knows
manager's
that.
name. No, I'm not fixed on the manager's name. I'm talking about the whole situation. Like, I think people are talking about like
Big
even
bread,
how
man.
long. Yeah, like people talking about this like it's going to take long or like it's going to take time. It's not going to take long. It's not going to take time. All this stuff is blown out the window with the amount of money that they've got. Like, so they don't need to move slow with anything. They can just get a very good manager in now and just start signing players in January. They're going to be nowhere near relegation by May if they do that. But if they play the slow game, get someone in to solidify things and all that, that's the thing that might get them relegated. Whereas if they just spend and bring in a top manager now, they'll be fine. Like, it's unprecedented money, man.
If they do that 190 mil rather than 50 mil, I think you just said 190 is what they potentially can spend up to.
Because
they may as well go and do that.
Because Ashley wasn't spending any money the last few years. Their financial fair play is in a very good situation, so they can spend loads. Like, this ain't gonna. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just looking at it a different way, but I just don't think this is like.
I do think it will take a bit of time.
Situation.
I think it will take time. I do think it will. When I say time, I'm talking 2 years from now. I can see them pushing top 4 European, looking to win the league kind of thing in the next 2 seasons. But I think there has to still be that transitional. But I think they should bring in a manager that can do that now rather than wait. Because I think if you're going to wait, you get relegated. That just derails your whole plan for a season. You're playing championship football and you got a billionaire as your owner. That's mad to me. But
that's the last thing I was going to say, because I know we need to move on, was it's not the same situation. But Wolves, you look at them, for example, they could still attract big players. They steamrolled that league. If they had Newcastle type money and they came up,
you're not getting big players going in the championship.
But Wolves did it. They got Ruben Neves. Like
he wasn't big. He wasn't big when they got him.
Yeah,
remember, Newcastle competing with Liverpool and City for players. None of them are going in the championship. Even if there's an expectation that they'll get to the Premier League the next season.
I feel like Ruben Neves was a big, and they'll pick up all the big, like they know, like Jesse said last time, the project players they'll get superstars because they're going up, and then the next season they'll probably be challenging for top 6 anyway.
But you just said it yourself, though. This is not the same money. Like, I think this is the thing everyone has to remember with this one, yeah? This is not the same as anything we've seen before. Like, they're worth like over 300 billion. Like, this is not going to be like some slow, steady, let's bring in like these type of players to get out of the championship. Let's bring in these to get to the top half. They don't even need, they can skip so many stages with their sheer amount of resources.
Bruce will be gone by Wednesday. That's the final thing. No, he'll be gone by Wednesday, man. And they'll have someone in. Maybe I can't remember the guy's name that's there now as the caretaker for the weekend. Then they'll appoint someone, and it'll be someone big as well. It'll be a big name. It'll be someone that's going to be big, and they're going to start planning projects and whatever all these words that people use now. They're going to start doing that. They're not going to wait. There's no point waiting.
But that's the other thing as well. What you have to factor in. Remember, big managers as well bring players with them too. Like, their name attracts players. So once they get a top manager in, or a manager that people know plays a certain style of football or has a certain level of success, players will come with him. So yeah, I think it's early enough in the season to not be worried about relegation, because 2 wins takes them to mid-table. So as soon as you change the manager, you get the new manager bounce anyway. Then you bring in add in the manager that's actually a top manager, and then spend in January. They'll be fine.
Fair. Yeah. I feel like we've run out of time. We were going to talk Arsenal Palace, but
we can quickly do that, man. Let's quickly do that.
You got that one? All right. I'm going to mute myself for that one. Let's go to the big Palace fan, Jesse, for this one. What's your thoughts on the game?
It's tired line.
You got the floor, man.
So yours, bro.
No, yeah, I think it's a good game. I think it's 50-50. Palace are playing well at the moment. It's a 50-50.
No, it is, man.
If you've watched Palace this season, it's a 50-50.
Yeah,
I don't know if you have.
Go above Arsenal. I know you have, but yeah, I'll watch Palace. I've watched Palace. They play good.
So I think it's 50-50. Obviously, Arsenal should be historic favourites, but not the way they've been playing at the moment. Not especially not the way they played against Brighton. So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting game, man. I expect Palace to win, but we'll have to see what happens.
Big occasion for Patrick Vieira going back to Arsenal as well. But I think you're right. I think off the back of the way that Palace played, they've been putting some good performances this season as well. I've been impressed with Edouard. I think he's been brilliant as well. Obviously Zaha as well. But yeah, man, I think I'm looking forward to it.
Wait, sorry, they're Arsenal at home, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's at Emirates.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're draw then.
I was gonna say I feel the home advantage. I think we'll help Arsenal.
No, and look, obviously that's a bit shaky against Brighton, but I think for Arsenal, obviously, it just depends on if the young boys are playing well, isn't it? Like with Smith Rowe, Odegaard, and Saka, if they're playing well, then they're a nightmare for a lot of teams at the moment, the way that they're playing. So yeah, we have to see. But the way that they played against Brighton is a bit questionable, man. But yeah, we have to see.
I feel Arsenal will take the points when they play. I feel like they might have too much of Palace in the middle, just the way that they move the ball and maybe down the wings as well. Palace do play nice stuff, but I do worry about their ability to actually get results at this moment in time, and that's why I feel away to Arsenal. Arsenal got a good record against Palace, I know historically, but I can see them getting the win there, particularly if like you said, Jesse, the right players turn up. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a quite a clear Arsenal win.
Fair play. But yeah, it's been pretty much similar in results. And I think if they win, they'll be on the same amount of points. So I don't think. Yeah, I still think it's a 50-50, man, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, we just have to see. I think it'll be a very good game.
Yeah, I hear that. Well, obviously we'll see. We'll discuss it. I think Arsenal are first up in the next round of games as well. I think they play again on Friday. Got a load of big games. We've got Man United, Liverpool next week. Got London Derby, West Ham, Tottenham, which will be fiery. Chelsea surely will stay top of the table. They're playing the whipping boys, Norwich. But obviously, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Let us know your thoughts. You can follow us on @the PTTW podcast. And you can obviously hear me and I know you guys are laughing. I got it right today. I checked before I came on. You can hear obviously me, Jesse and T Dot debate and disagree on more things next week as well. So thank you for tuning in.